Hello and welcome to another video from Sandra at Sandrascraftstudio. Today I'm going to be sharing with you an absolutely gorgeous bauble that you can have for the tree, or you can leave the top so that you can actually use it as a box and actually make it into a gift box that could still hang on the tree. Today I will be using these brightly gleaming specialty designer series papers. Now these featured in last year's Christmas catalogue. They were very, very popular, and I was so pleased when they came back in this year's August to December mini catalogue. Still available. So these are the designer series papers, and then I'm adding in the copper, which absolutely gorgeous. These are all foiled. All the papers are foiled with the copper coming through. So I'll be using these two today. All of those foil papers also have these on their reverse. I have trimmed my piece of A4 cardstock down to 26.5 centimetres by 16 centimetres, or 10.5 inches by 6.25 inches. I'm going to score this into lots of small pieces like a grid. By the time we finish, it will be like a grid. So I'm going to start by scoring these at 3.2 centimetres, making sure it's lined up at the top and the middle there. So 3.2, 6.4, 9.6, 12.8, 16, again it's just engraved in the middle there. 19.2, 22.4 and 25.6. Okay, you will notice that this tiny little piece is where the adhesive will go. Then we're going to turn it round and we're going to score this way at 3.2, 6.4, 9.6, 12.8, and that's it. That's where we are. Okay, so all of those pieces there. So now you'll see this is looking like a grid. Now I'm going to just take my bone folder and I'm going to score all of those edges. So here we have our piece of cardstock all scored where we need. Now first of all, this little strip down the end needs to be cut away at the top and bottom. So I'm just grabbing a marker so that you can see it on camera. And as we go along here, I'm going to put crosses in the alternate ones. These are all the ones that will be removed. And then the corresponding one down the bottom will also be removed. So all of those squares need to be snipped out. Now this piece in here, to remind you of what's going to be left, I'm going to place some tear and tape in that small section in the middle, because that is the piece that will stay behind. Okay, so each of these squares now needs to be removed. I like to start by snipping to that first crease line right through the middle of the score line. Take that out. So when you're trimming these sections off here, I like to tuck one in and then trim that one off. And then tuck that one in and trim this one off. Tuck that one in and trim that one off, and then the last one tuck in and trim off. Okay, and that leaves us with one section done. This is the template that we're actually working to, and now you can start to see how it's taking shape. So all of the hashed areas have been removed, and now I'm going to be working on the red dotted areas where we're going to measure the top of those boxes on the second and fourth rows. So I'll bring you back down to the desk. We're going to come in on each of these gaps, the ones in the middle here, and mark a pencil dot in the centre. Now that centre is 1.6 centimetres, or if you're using the imperial measurements, then it's 5/8 of an inch. So I'll carry on doing all of these, marking the centres. So now I have my ruler here, and I'm going to be marking from this corner here, like our checkerboard. You probably can't see it on the camera, but you'll be able to see where this line continues, and that's my point. And I'm going to be scoring up until that centre point up there, like so, and then down the other side. So put the ball tool in the corner and then aim for your pencil line. And then again here, ball tool in the corner and aim for your pencil line. And then we need to do all of that on the reverse on the other side. Again, I'll turn that over as I like to work away from me. I like to remove the pencil mark. So to crease along these, I use my fingernail and just crease that lightly in there, all going the same direction. And the same this way, I'll do this one because it's going in one direction. So that's got all those diagonals going. So I'll turn it round and do all the others. My squares of the designer series paper are cut to 2.9 centimetres or 1 inch. My designer series papers that are going to fill these flat surfaces have all been cut to 2.9 centimetre squares or 1 inch in imperial. I have done 3 different patterns, and you can remember from the grid sheet, we have now made our score marks. We are now going to put the A, B and C patterns on there. So if I bring all of those on, the A is my copper, so that is an A, and an A, an A. Those are all my A's. Now the top and the bottom here are going to be our lid and our bottom. So you will end up with a square around that one and a square around that one. So those are my squares, and I'm going to just go through and attach all of those. I use my tweezers to hold and my Tombow multi-purpose adhesive liquid glue, and I find that easier to place them in the centre. Okay. And there we are, all attached. So now we're going to flip this over, and this is the top row only. We're going to take our pencil again, and we're going to mark the centre of these boxes. So to do that, the easiest way is to go corner to corner. This won't be seen, so just a little cross in the middle. like so, corner to corner, and cross over where that intersection is in the middle there. We'll do that on all of the top row. To make my holes, I tend to use a crocodile. It's a multi-purpose tool. It's for setting brads and eyelets and things, and I find it very good for going through more than one layer. But an office hole punch would do if you have just a standard office punch. And you're just punching a hole through the centre of that cross. Now, if you are using this as a gift, then I would rub those little lines out in the middle. You notice when I punched my holes, I didn't go literally corner to corner. I just did a little cross in the middle, roughly where it's going to be. You don't need to go all the way to the edges. There we go. So all of our boxes with a hole in. So now we're going to assemble. So I need to make sure that these are nicely creased. I'm going to go over and recrease these just with a bone folder along that edge. So we're just creasing those edges. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it inside out, and I'm going to turn over any section and remove my tear and tape. Now this should be immediately opposite. If your scorings are all accurate, this will all form nicely in line. So I'm not pressing over my foil, don't want to scratch it. And just making those go nicely together. So now we're going to turn it upside down, and we will start with the ones without the foil on. We're going to put the opposites together. Now this is gradually going to pull in those side pieces to form an orb. So we're going to make sure that these two, try and tuck some of those in, these two opposites without the copper on are going to be attached together. Now I like to find it handy to pull those two out of the way, and I have my tweezers ready. So I will apply some wet glue, multi-purpose adhesive in here, and I will lay that one immediately over the top and hold it. You want to line them up perfectly, so tweezers are a good way to just hold those and be an extra pair of hands. Just squeezing that until that glue starts to go off. Okay, so these ones you can see how the corners are coming in. The next one will be the one without the copper on again. We'll do exactly the same. Squeezing that one in the sides, that will come over immediately. There, keeping that one out of the way again, and gripping that with your tweezers, holding it nicely so that the sides all line up. Okay, just for a few seconds until that glue goes off, and then the last one's going to come in on the top. You notice I'm keeping the edges free of adhesive, and then that will come in over the top. So squeeze it nicely together. The last one is always more awkward because there's nothing to get hold of. Okay, that's in there like so. So that is starting to form our shape, and that is now the bottom. Now this then becomes the top, and this is where this could actually be a gift box. So this is the inside, and you could make this into a gift box. I'm going to be making another decoration. So I have a 10-inch length of ribbon, about 25.5 centimetres, and I'm going to fold that in half and tie those two loose ends into a knot, just an over knot like so. So we've tied those two edges together, and we want that knot to be as near the end of that ribbon, those loose ends, as possible. Okay, so I'll pull that all the way down. Depending on what ribbon you use, the thickness of your ribbon will determine what size hole you want. But an office punch is about right for you. So I'm ready there with my piece folded in half. I want to do the two sides first that have not got the copper on it. So the copper is this end. Bring it around there the same. So I'm going to come under these two. So I'll start with one of them. So I'll come in over one, and then I will come underneath the other. So the knot is on the inside, so we've come through that hole, we'll come through this hole, pull those two together, and then the one that hasn't got the copper on it, come through this one, gradually pulling those through, pull those two tight, and then this one, so it's a bit awkward, those two together, this one pulls on top. Okay, we're still pulling the sides in at the moment. And then lastly, the one with the copper on the top. Okay, and as it gets nearer the top, you will then gradually get to see how they will all pull in nicely together. And because it's got so many pieces in there, it does actually hold itself quite nicely shut. Okay, in there, just by pulling that tightly. And there we have our decoration. Sorry, that was off camera. I hope you can see that. So here is my bauble ready to decorate, and the decorations I've die cut the word joy and a snowflake and a middle. I've already pre-die cut those, and I'm going to make a little puddle of adhesive on my silicone mat, and I have a small piece of sponge here. I'm just going to work that into the sponge on there. And I'm going to turn the snowflake over and then just dot that over the back so that we've got some adhesive. It's not as heavy as it would be had it been used neat. So I'm going to put my snowflake on this panel here, okay, into the centre, and just be conscious that it will be very slippery because it's going onto a shiny surface. So that's on this one, and then the other snowflake will go on the opposite side. So we will have our three sections in there for the word joy, and the snowflake will come in the centre. So we'll do exactly the same again. It's very delicate that way, and it won't be so much glue to ooze out from the delicate snowflake on the side. So just be conscious of the slippery surface. It's lazy. Let's move that. Let's squash that a bit too heavily. Okay, so in the centre of that, I'm going to place one of these. These are from our snowflake dies, and this is going to go in the centre there, slightly offset, and I have some small adhesive foam dots here, just to raise them up slightly. So that's going to go in the centre and the centre there. So these will come off. And just offset that into the centre. You can see where there's a little piece going in there, so I like to just offset those. Okay, and the same on the other side. Sorry, I've just... And that's that side done again as well. It's just bouncing open a little bit. I'm just pulling that tight again. Okay, so lastly for those, I have some rhinestone gems to place in the centre. I'm going to use the largest of the gem. Oh, the largest of the gems into the centre of that snowflake, and then on the opposite side the same. These are a beautiful colour and they match. They are champagne rhinestone basic jewels, but they match the colours in here. They just go so nicely. So that's the two centres done. And then now we will place our word joy coming through the middle there. So now you can see I've cut them the other way round. So the joy, the J and the white are in the copper so that they will sit on the pattern paper. So I'm just going to attach these. I'll start with the J. Exactly the same way, just on the back there. So the J will go in here. And the O the same. Again, because we're going onto a shiny foil here, just be conscious that either just let it dry a little bit or use a very, very small amount of adhesive so it's not so slippery. That can stick in the centre there. And then the last one will be the Y. The same way. And place that in the centre. Okay, so we have joy. We have the snowflake, joy, and then another snowflake, and then we'll have joy again on here. Okay, and then we have joy and snowflake again. So joy and snowflake twice. So that's all repeating round. Now for the top pieces on here, the plainer papers, I have a decoration to go on there. So I have my Stampin' Pierce mat and a piece of my thick Very Vanilla. So I'm using the Holly and Berries out of the same set, the stamp set that goes in that suite. It's the Christmas Gleaming, and there's this stamp down the bottom here. Okay, now I'm going to use a marker to stamp technique. So I'm going to start off with my old olive, and I'm using the broad nib, and I'm stroking away from where the berries are. You can see I've left this ink from previously. I'm not going on the piece where the berries are. I'm just doing all the other pieces. And I'm not using the nib and stabbing. I'm just gently stroking all those, the image on there, the holly image. So that is all covered that side. So I turn and I work away. I'm right-handed, so I work away from the area that I don't want to contaminate with my green ink. This is a lovely technique and it can get some really nice subtle effects. So that's my old olive. Now I've gone to my real red. I need to have some berries. So again, a long brush, using it quite flat on the stamp and going all the way around the edges of those berries and the little dot in the centre that gives it some dimension. So there's 4 berries on here. So I'm just going all the way around the outside edges there. Okay, and then we're going to stamp this image. Now pop this into the corner and stamp that. Just hold it down for a few seconds just for the inks to go onto the paper, and then lift that off. Beautifully clear image, and I'm going to repeat that and do that a second time. I'm using my Wink of Stella glitter brush. These are available from Stampin' Up. I'm squeezing this slightly onto the corner of the card just in case it drips. And I'm squeezing it, I'm shaking it up to get the mica ink mixed in. I'm just squeezing it gently until I can see some the sparkly liquid in the barrel here. There's some movement in there. So I'm going to start with our leaves. So I'm just colouring this. I hope this will pick up on the camera for you. So I'm just colouring this, picking up the ink from the edges and bringing it in. And I'm colouring that as though I'm colouring in. It's bleeding some of the ink from the green that I'm colouring, that I've stamped, sorry. So it's bleeding some of that green in there. I'll bring it to the camera so you can see the difference. So there's one coloured and there's one not coloured. Can you see how that comes in? And can you see the glitter on that holly leaf? I hope that shows up okay. That does seem to be showing well. So I'm just going to place that down so that you can see me. But I like to turn my work. So I'm working on this leaf next. So I'll be colouring this one in. And see how nicely they're coloured in, and that was very, very quick to do, and the glitter is there from the glitter brush. So we're back to my bauble, okay, just so you can see the bauble again, and we're going to decorate the plainer, the non-foiled section here and on the other side. Okay, so it's hard to let that stand. There we go, we can get that to stand on there. So here are the images that I've just cut out, okay, with the sparkle. Wait for the camera to tune in on those. Okay, so I'm going to attach that. Work out where, before you put the adhesive on, work out where you'd like to attach them. Now I quite like that with some of the berries I want flat, but I quite like these kicked up a little bit. So I'm going to put a little foam pad on the ends of the two leaves. I've got my dimensionals. So on the end of each leaf, I will put a dimensional. I might as well do the other one at the same time. Okay, like so. And just test those for size again. So they're going to kind of kick up just a little bit, but overhang quite nicely. So I can put quite a generous covering of adhesive in here. Oh, you can't see me. Sorry, those were just off the camera. A generous covering of adhesive into towards the, I'm just taking the backs off the foam, 3D foam pads. So that one is going to sit on here, and I quite liked it like so. So it's going to be flat, but these will be kicked up slightly. And I'll do exactly the same on the other side, so that look quite nice. So on this side, you have the detail of the snowflake, and then on this side you have the detail of the holly, then the snowflake, and we'll put the holly on here as well. So I hope you like this today. So this starts off with the snowflake, we have the word joy coming through the center, the holly, another snowflake, and then joy again. Okay, a beautiful ornament or gift box. I hope you've enjoyed my tutorial today. If this is your first visit, then please click on the subscribe button. And if you ring the bell too, you'll be notified of future videos as I release them. My contact details will be at the end of the video and also in the description below. So thanks again for joining me today. I hope to see you here again soon. Bye for now.